Alright, this is Ubaid on behalf of Electronics, and in this video we're going to talk about fixed versus variable costs. Okay, so in the last video we talked about cost of goods sold, and we also talked about operating expenses. So in this video we're going to talk about fixed and variable costs. So when it comes to fixed costs, this has to do with your operating expenses. In most cases. Okay, so this is operating expenses. Such as your rent, for example. Your rent may be fixed. Okay, your lease, it may be the same year after year. Okay, and other operating expenses. Okay, and the advantage of knowing your fixed costs is that you can estimate, okay, how much you're going to end up spending on these operating expenses. And that way you can figure out your budget. So if you're trying to develop some kind of a budget constraint, and we talked about budget constraints in microeconomics, if you're trying to figure out some kind of budget constraint, this is the best way to do it. Okay, figure out what your fixed expenses are like and estimate your variable expenses, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So when we talk about variable expenses, your variable expenses have to do with things like cost of material, okay, cost of materials, okay, cost of utilities, so materials, cost of utility, for example, so how much you end up spending for utility, it may be different every month based on how much you produce, what the consumer demand is like in the market, so on and so forth. So cost of utilities, cost of materials, okay, and cost to operate other capital assets. And what I mean by capital assets, we're talking about machinery and equipment in a factory, for example. Okay, the machines may break down every now and then, which basically means that your operating expenses may be different every month, depending on how frequent they break down. Okay, so this has to do with cost to operate capital assets. And you also have to factor in depreciation. Okay, and depreciation for capital assets may not be the same each year. Okay, so the wear and tear really depends on how well you maintain the machine or the capital asset, as a result of which it may be different every year. All right, so that's basically variable and fixed costs for you. On behalf of Electronics, this is Ubaid. Have yourself a great day.